What's happening, everybody? And that is pretty much the vibe that you're gonna get going into Sasquatch Sunset. I might struggle with saying that a little bit. Sasquatch Sunset. Overall, man, this is definitely one to chew on. For sure, your definition of like an artsy movie. And for sure journey into the abstract. Overall, I enjoyed my experience watching Sasquatch Sunset. I laughed a lot. I felt some things. We'll talk about that. It was a little tough to get into the feels in this movie with some of the comedic high points of it, but I definitely laughed out loud several times during this movie. So overall, definitely worth the price of admission. I will say for sure, deserves that like squeamish tag. This movie even just has like a lot of those gross out moments that like for example, I went to go see this with a buddy. But like my wife, I know, for example, would like despise just like some of the moments that take place in this movie. So, if you don't like vomiting, if you don't like bodily fluids, that kind of stuff, definitely not the movie for you. So yeah, we'll get a little bit smaller here. We won't go all the way down, but we'll get into some visuals here. So Sasquatch Sunset is a story about a family of Sasquatches living in the American Northwest. They're just going about their lives. It's a completely nonverbal movie. So there's literally no dialogue throughout the entire thing. You're just sort of getting a slice of life one entire year with the Sasquatches. So the movie begins in spring. We move through summer until we eventually get into, of course, fall. And then into the winter. And it's got a really small cast. There are literally 4 actors in this movie. I'm going to have to even jump over here. Obviously, Jesse Eisenberg, you recognize him. Lex Luthor. The worst Lex Luthor? Maybe. I don't know. It's debatable. Kylie Keough, I hope I'm saying that right. She was definitely my favorite in this movie. She was awesome. Nathan Zellner and Christoph Zajac-Denek. I hope I'm saying that right as well. So those are our actors in this movie, just all 4 of them, man. And they're playing the Sasquatches. So I'll start with that. Right off the bat, you're going to have a little bit of, you might, like I did, have a little bit of trouble actually identifying the Sasquatches apart from one another. Like for me, like for example, this Sasquatch, and let's see if I can find like a good one. Uh, mm, Not so much, but those 2 Sasquatches and this Sasquatch are totally different Sasquatches. So this Sasquatch, this Sasquatch, these are all different Sasquatches. And you'll notice kind of hard to tell the difference between them. So first like third of the movie, I found myself struggling just a little bit to kind of keep track of all the characters. I didn't realize that once again, I apologize if I'll just say Christoph. That Christoph was playing like a child. Like I didn't realize this one Sasquatch was younger than the rest of them until, spoiler alert, he started drinking his mom's breast milk. So he was drinking his mom's breast milk, and I was like, wait, so the third guy in their troop is just drinking her titty milk? That's a little bit weird. But they're on such like hillish and uneven footing the whole movie, and they have such dense vegetation throughout a lot of it that you really don't notice. So yeah, let's get into like what they're doing here with these sticks. One thing that we see throughout the movie, they use like sticks and like like clacking together and loud like monkey noises like wah, 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 out into the forest to communicate with each other. There's a lot going on in this movie, despite the fact that there's not a lot being said in this movie. I will say I didn't hate it. I've had a really interesting experience at the movies over the last like 3 weeks or so, where I would say the last three movies I saw in theaters were all super unique, uh, pretty original in concept overall. You know, as far as what they were attempting. They were all the kind of movies that I would probably only watch once, and they all, uh, were weird for lack of a better word. They were all weird. We're talking Monkey Man, Civil War, and this movie here, Sasquatch Sunset. Shout out, take a drink. If you're listening to this, you're able to do one. We're enjoying ourselves here on Thursday night. Uh, but all three of these movies are strange to say the least. Now, I enjoyed all three of those movies. Sasquatch Sunset, I might have overall enjoyed it the most between Monkey Man, Civil War, and Sasquatch Sunset. In fact, I'm even thinking about I might keep Sasquatch Sunset as its own review. I'm gonna review this movie. It deserves a proper review, but I might also lump these together as like these three weird but unique movies that, at least in my opinion, symbolize that people are at least kind of ready for something like a little bit different than what we've been getting, just like that look towards the future. So speaking of his like longing look towards the future, let's talk about like some of the themes going on in this movie. There are a few, again, despite there's a lot going on in this movie, despite that there's not a lot being said. So again, on the surface, we've got this whole plot of Sasquatches just kind of living their lives, a slice of life out here in Oregon. They're doing their thing. They're out there, eating, fucking. It like opens up with like a sex scene, like that. Like these two are fucking. Not their kid, obviously, but these two are fucking, getting it on. And making a spoiler alert, making a baby, man. So we start off in the spring. They're wandering along. It's the three of them. We have no clear indication of, you know, not him. We have no clear indication of like what the relation of Papa here is. So obviously, you see the kid there, but Papa here, we don't know if he's Jesse Eisenberg's character's dad. We don't know if he's Riley's character's dad, but he's somebody's dad. He's also trying to fuck her. So that's kind of like one of the first main plots in the movie. She's just always having to kind of fend off not Neanderthals, Sasquatches. She's always having to fend off Sasquatches who are just trying to fuck her when she's pregnant as shit. And she's just not trying to fuck. She was my favorite character, man. She really was. Oh, that might be Jesse Eisenberg, actually. Again, it's so hard to tell them apart. But they both have like that ridge thing on their heads, So I don't know. It's tough. It's kind of tough. Anyway, so she's always trying to fight off people trying to fuck her. As we're going on through the movie, kind of the first big plot development. So we're gonna get into some spoilers here. Go see the movie. Seriously, just turn this off. Go see the movie. Come back to it at another time. I know you won't, but that's okay. We're gonna do a proper review anyway. But kind of first big plot development, they find these berries. The oldest guy, he ends up getting wasted on some berries that are like fermented or something like that. We're doing some spoiler alerts, so right now we're going through the plot. Yeah, thank you. No worries. I'm trying to give you some warnings here. Some popped in. I'm not going for the views. I want to be honest with you here. So he ends up getting wasted on like fermented berries. Eats the berries, wanders, tries to fuck the mom. It's a hilarious scene. Tries to fuck the mom. They all get mad at him. He wanders off, finds a mountain lion or eats a poison mushroom. We're eating our own poison mushrooms over here, so to speak. Eats a poison mushroom, gets sick, throws up. I did have like a vomit image, but luckily I lost that. I'd probably get censored for that anyway. Ends up throwing up and encounters a mountain lion. Tries to fuck the mountain lion. The family clacks their sticks together. They're looking for him, and they end up finding him with his belly ripped open. That was one of the first, like, scenes that I laughed really hard at. They're throwing rocks at the mountain lion, they're trying to get him off of the dad, the grandpa, someone's grandpa, he's one of their grandpas, we know that for sure. He's the kid's grandpa, he's one of their dads, but he's the kid's grandpa for sure. And the mountain lion's just eating his belly, they're just throwing rocks at him, they're hitting him in the face and stuff, but then it's immediately followed up with, like a pretty heavy emotional scene of them burying the grandpa, so it's a lot going on, man. It's you're like laughing your ass off one moment and then you're like, oh, like serious funeral scene. I don't exactly know how to take that. So that's sort of the semblance of the plot we have. Obviously the mom is pregnant, she's trying to fend off guys trying to fuck her. We very early on in the spring encounter the grandpa getting killed, as we see through sort of random accident and like stupidity. It's kind of the one theme too with these big feet. They're stupid, you like them and you root for them and you empathize with you sympathize for them, but you sympathize for them, they're likable, but you do also get the sense that it's like they're just dumb as fuck, man, and they are not going to make it in this world despite the fact that they are very likable. uh so you move on into summer. They're continuing kind of to move along. We see sort of their first encounter with mankind. They come across one of those big X's in the forest. I guess they do it on a tree when they're like going to cut it down. Take another drink if you can. All right. Uh, So that's sort of like your first hint that like, okay, like because before that, honestly, like this movie could be taking place prehistorically. Like you really don't know. But once you see that X, you're like, okay, this is like modern day. And we spend a decent amount of time with Jesse Eisenberg's like Bigfoot character throughout the movie. That's him right here with the butterfly. I'm pretty sure you can kind of tell. And I'll say this: Jesse Eisenberg was the one, for better or worse, for his acting. Man, he was the one character who, in my opinion, uh, like I could tell it was Jesse Eisenberg when he sighed a few times. Jesse Eisenberg just has this very characteristic. Like even there, you can tell that's Jesse Eisenberg if you know that's him. So he's this very characteristic, like, like this very characteristic sigh. And the Bigfoot character has a few sighs that a few times I was like, motherfucker, I can tell that that's Jesse Eisenberg. I can tell that that's you. So you know, the thing I liked about his character though that I really want to get into is he's got this thing where he's always counting. So he's counting like the rings of a tree at one point. He's like looking up at the sky and he's counting the stars. It's interesting. The Sasquatches are interested. They appreciate the world that's around them. He's like counting like he forages something at some point. And he's like counting parts of it just to make sure he can like break it up for his family or whatever. But he can't. And I would have to. This is one of those things where I probably have to watch the movie again. But like, it seems like he can't count past 3. And the thing that I thought was interesting about that is here he is walking around with 3 individuals in his life, like whatever, maybe his dad, his son, and his wife. And he can't count past 3 because he does not have the conceptualization to imagine more than like 3 things to like have to think about. His world doesn't extend beyond 3 and he gets like frustrated, but you can see that that longing to reach further. So that was interesting. I thought that was interesting for 2 reasons. It added depth to his character, but it also kind of muddled the plot and made them feel like cavemen more so than Sasquatches. I do picture Sasquatches being a little more animalistic than humanistic, and this movie very much goes in the humanistic direction with their Sasquatches. The other thing I'll say, and this is sort of actually my only like, it's my only like, I'll say that like this movie, it's weird and it's not for everyone, but I don't have a lot of like like shitty criticisms for it. One of my only shitty criticisms for it, you won't even. I bet you. You know what? Let's look through like almost all the pictures I have. We won't even see a clear shot of their feet, which is smart in the promo shit. Here's probably the best shot of their feet that we have. You won't really see a clear shot of their feet because their feet look like dog shit. Not dog shit, but you can tell they're like shoes that they're wearing. The toes don't move at all. There's a few times where the Sasquatches are climbing or going over rough terrain. And you're just like, yeah, they're clearly wearing like shoes on their feet. Other than that, I really, really like the costumes. I really like the prosthetics. Again, these are remarks. These are drunken whiskey remarks. So we're just sort of all over the place, but we're just going through it. Light spoiler, total spoilers here. So don't go into the remarks without knowing that there'll be a couple of spoilers. And this is an artsy film, so you should support it for no other reason than that. Again, it's not the best movie, but I enjoyed it, man. I give it the old blunt plunk endorsement. I give it the stamp of approval. I'm definitely going to do a proper review on this one. So we move on into summer. Again, they're just kind of living their lives. They're foraging. Jesse Eisenberg's Bigfoot ends up climbing onto a log, rolling over, like jumping on it stupidly, rolling over and like getting his legs stuck. So like he's kind of caught in the water and his like wife's trying to get it up. And then like she's panicking. So the kid comes over and I swear, like, again, I'd have to watch it again to really know. But the kid like makes it worse. Oh, let me back up actually. You know what? I'm not even gonna spoil this part. They're just walking through the woods. They're doing their thing. I'm not gonna spoil this part for you. You got to see it for yourself. So even with these heavy spoilers on, we're not gonna spoil that part for you. So Jesse Eisenberg's character, man, he gets rolled over. The kid comes over. He like kills his dad because he's like trying to roll the log like off of him, but he like rolls it over him so much that he just fucking drowns. And again, this is one of those moments where like I'm there with my buddy, like this is my friend, long time. We joke about everything. We're laughing, man. We're chuckling to each other because it's funny. It's like, oh my god, like this is fucking morbid as shit, but like it's crazy how dumb he's dying. And then immediately, like very sad to see like the mom and the son like lose him. That's where you get this beautiful hug scene, man. This embrace, they bury him and everything. And it's like supposed to be heavy, which I can see why people like have problems with this movie or they're not taking it seriously because like it's odd to do very it is a very weird choice no matter who you are or how talented you are, to decide that you're going to go ahead and do very comedic deaths, because all of the deaths of like characters in this movie are very like comedic in my opinion. They're pretty comedic. Jesse Eisenberg's is maybe arguably his is arguably kind of sad, but yeah, look at that motherfucker. You can tell that motherfucker is a caveman, man. Again, I thought they were cavemen. That's how they kind of acted. That's a little bit of a critique for the movie. Let's take one more, then we'll take a little break. Ooh, wash it down with water. The water thing's not really even to chase it. It's just that you got to stay hydrated when you're drinking alcohol. But look at this motherfucker, man. You just know it. So it's not even like, I mean, maybe some people would interpret his death scene as sad, but I really thought it was funny. So the mom and the kid carry on. Uh, they end up embracing, moving on. We move on into fall. They end up finding like they start lightly encountering mankind more. Like they come across a campsite, they like come to like the edge of a farm where they collect a chicken and stuff, and I like that stuff. Like that was good, like moments of like, oh yeah, Bigfoot never really touches humanity. It's always just out of reach or there's somehow no one around. That stuff was kind of cool. Again, I'm gonna go back to her just to make sure. I'm sorry if I'm saying her name wrong, but Kylie Canal blew me away in this role. She was really good, and if nothing else, she genuinely really deserves a lot of praise because she fucking killed it as a Bigfoot, man. She really like delivered some emotional shit, and some like moments without any translatable dialogue at all. She just fucking brought it, and she brought it the whole way. I don't That's another thing too. Like, I'd be curious, like, because it's obviously a movie without language, so it's not limited by like American or English audiences. But who the hell is gonna go like see this movie in other countries? Does this comedy because again, there's a lot of things that made me laugh really hard in this movie, but does that kind of comedy necessarily translate to everyone out there in the world? Is all parts of the world, or is India, for example, gonna find all the body fluid and like morbid and sort of like borderline like slapstick deaths, like borderline slapstick deaths. Will people in other parts of the world find that funny? I'm just curious from a cultural perspective. I found it kind of funny. That's the other thing. There was two other people in my theater, and I think this is the premiere night. If it's not been out for a little bit anyway. And again, I know it's an artsy movie. It had two times at the theater that I went to go see it with my buddy, but still, that's not great, man. I don't think it's gonna do super good revenue-wise, which is another reason that we should review it, get people to maybe check it out on streaming. So yeah, man, that's two Sasquatches down already. But again, the mom is pregnant, so of course we're moving through the fall. They pick up a chicken. There's just more slice of life. Like again, it's just like slice of life, lightly coming encounters with the human beings, and then just kind of like moving on. The Sasquatch boners are some of the best parts. Again, the mom freaking out and kind of establishing her dominance as like a female, like, I'm not going to take this. It's nice, it's refreshing, man, and not a woke way, but a very natural and artistic kind of a way. And then we move into the winter where we end up, or so I think maybe actually I've got to back up a little bit. Again, maybe a two-part viewer, but the fall she might give birth, and she ends up feeding like her placenta or whatever that. Again, I'm going to express some massive ignorance here. I don't have kids. I am married. I don't have kids, but the placenta, whatever comes out of a woman in addition to her child, wonderful miracle. Congratulations. Um, she ends up feeding it to this mountain lion as like tribute. And that's a pretty gnarly scene of this mountain lion just chewing up baby release and baby remains at after she ends up giving birth. Down dog style. Even if you don't do yoga, you know what a down dog position is, right? So she ends up giving birth down dog style. And it's that again is a pretty funny scene. So okay, yeah. If you made it this far and you still are not wanting spoilers, how the hell did you make it this far? Hopefully you're watching it after you watched Sasquatch Sunset. You just want to hear people talk about it. I get it. Not a lot of people are going to talk about it for sure. Trust me on that. I'm hugging you through the screen like the Sasquatches are here. Let's go for one more. I know we said we'd take a little break, but let's go for one more. Wash it down with water. Stay hydrated. So we move into winter. She's got a horrendously hideous baby. I wish I could find a picture of this baby. I might be able to find a picture of this baby really quick. Sasquatch Sunset baby. So, spoiler alert. I mean, she gets fucked in the first scene again. So you might know that she has a baby. There's like a picture of like the director holding it in like a thing. And on the red car. Okay, let me add this to my photos. I'm gonna pull it up. I'm gonna see if I can add it here. Save image. As oh my gosh. Why do you do this to me? All right, cool. I'm gonna grab it because you got to see this baby. You got to at least see some semblance of this baby as it is. All right, we just gotta save it as a JPEG. I know the minutia of YouTube streaming. You're in the thick of it now. If you've made it this far, I appreciate you. All right, so let's add this in to the media. Add a file. Boom. All right, so check this out. Boom. There you go. Baby Bigfoot. I might be the first stream that's shown you baby Bigfoot. She gives birth to this thing. Oh my god, it's so hideous, but like it's massively like I love this. Okay, to be fair, I'm calling it hideous because like in the movie, like it just looks hideous to me as a human being. But man, dude, I love this fucking thing. Like it's such a beautiful character. It's just this little puppet. It's so creepy. It just like flies out of her vagina. They're like she's like handing it to her son in several scenes, like just like here, take it, like by the arm. It's just like oh, like just handing it right off to him, man. Oh my god. And again, like I won't even spoil anything with the baby, but like there's just some good plot stuff with the baby, man. It's actually a pretty good character. So again, I like the themes in this movie of like, where there's death, there's life as well. And then, we'll kind of get into like sort of the big spoilers. We get to the winter. They come across I guess what might be like the Bigfoot Conservatory or like the big place that like they have a Bigfoot museum. And that's pretty much where the movie ends. Again, it's just a lot of slice of life. It's a lot of them just living their lives, some loss, some birth, and all that good shit in between, and just hiding and staying away from people and stuff like that. But the things I really dug about it was those themes of like just the way they opened up some of the characters, like Jesse Eisenberg's character, not in I think being able to count past three because his whole world was about three other individuals. He couldn't even conceptualize the fourth one himself, which is legit. It's good storytelling. You're showing that like the big feet don't have a sense of self. At one point, the lady Bigfoot is looking in a mirror, and you can tell like she like doesn't even recognize herself, like it doesn't even seem like her as far as her reaction and everything. Comedically, it's very funny. There's a few moments in the there's a few moments in the trailer, like the porcupine walking away from him, or there's like another moment in the trailer where I don't even know, man. There's just some moments in the movie that are clearly set for laughs. I didn't laugh. All the really morbid, dark stuff, I laughed my fucking ass off. I thought it was so funny. So overall, I really do recommend Sasquatch Sunset, man. It's a good movie. Okay. It's a good movie, like you say that, and it's like, okay, like Dune 2 was a good movie. Dune 2 is probably the best movie that I've seen this year so far, right? Arguably, but probably. Um, and so Dune 2 is, kind of setting the bar. Sasquatch Sunset up there with Late Night with the Devil as far as like independent, interesting, thought-provoking, taking some risks here, and really making me think. It's not frustrating in the way a lot of other movies are frustrating, where there's like some fucking plot thing where you're like, what? Like, what the fuck is that all? Like, okay, those other two movies that I put in with this, Civil War and Monkey Man, both have like plot moments in them where if you like the movie, you'll go, okay, great. Yeah, I enjoy this and I accept this plot moment. But this movie doesn't have any plot moments where you're like, oh, I need to accept this in order to like it, So I can really appreciate it for that as well. So you don't have some generic run of the mill bullshit. It's not just like your fucking paint by numbers. I mean, it's definitely not your paint by numbers Marvel movie. It's definitely not your like woke agenda movie, even though it does have a very strong female character in it. We love strong female characters here on the Blunt Plunk channel. We love all well-written characters that have awesome character growth. So overall, I would recommend this movie. I will say, if you're squeamish, if like you're thinking about watching it with a partner who's like, "Ah, I hate that like body fluid stuff." Even like there's like a moment where someone picks their nose, and that was the moment that, like, to be in all fairness, I like mentioned all that other stuff, the vomiting, the body fluids and shit, and was like, "Oh, my wife wouldn't be into it." My wife's ride or die. She's actually pretty hardcore. There's a moment where a character picks their nose and eats it. That would be the moment that would gross my wife out, and I don't even blame her for that. Like, that's the moment that would gross her out, though, and is mainly the reason I maybe wouldn't recommend it to her. So if you are squeamish, if your friends are squeamish, then it's definitely not the movie to see. But you probably already know that if you made it this far in the review. So yeah, man, Sasquatch Sunset is a movie that is worth checking out. I mean, okay, so I always kind of put this out there when movies are available in IMAX because they're more expensive. You got to put a little bit more money out for them and all that shit. I would say if you can afford going to see this movie in IMAX, maybe check it out just for the landscapes that you're going to get. You are going to get some like beautiful natural sceneries that are quite nice to look at. But for the most part, definitely not worth the IMAX ticket. It's not Zendaya getting spit roasted after all. Now that is an IMAX ticket, my friends. So overall, I would recommend Sasquatch Sunset on the Blunt Plunk, 7 point channel of 3 points towards Blunt Guts, 1 point in the middle, and 3 points towards Blunts. We would give Sasquatch Sunset one blunt. One blunt. This movie, if you smoked a blunt and watch this movie, you will definitely have a pretty good time. And here's the other thing, actually. I didn't praise it for this yet. I praised it for costumes. I praised it for the acting. I praised it for overall like plot makes sense. It's interesting. It's compelling. It's a little mismatched. If you can criticize one part of the plot, the writing, it's a little mismatched. It's so comedic. It made me laugh so hard at times that the more serious parts I found hard to kind of take seriously. And I didn't want it. Quite frankly, I didn't want to take them seriously because I was having such a good time laughing at these dumb fucking Sasquatches. That was the thing. They made them kind of dumb and a little bit unlikable sometimes. So you weren't all that sad when bad shit happened to some of them. Especially the one. He was super he was super unlikable, man. So like, you're not gonna make me feel bad for this motherfucker when he was super unlikable the whole time. But overall, costumes great, characters great, really well written story, a little bit of mismatching with like the whole funny to sad ratio, but hey, what are you gonna do there? And under 90 minutes. Now I will say, like, dude, Dune 2, for example, and I don't mean to be like a big Dune like lover, even though I do love Dune. But almost 3 hours, and that movie wasn't long enough for me. This fucking movie is 90 like, let me double confirm that because I could be wrong, but yeah, this movie is 90 fucking minutes, an hour and 30 minutes, and it felt a little bit too long. It really did feel just a little bit too long. So full disclosure there. It's a slog, man. So definitely a good stream at home movie. You know what? Yeah, I think I'll recommend that. Overall, Sasquatch Sunset. If you want to go see it in theaters, go ahead and see it. But mainly, I would say on streaming, especially if it's available for free, give it your time, give it your attention. I had a good time watching it, but it's not necessarily a must-see film in theaters. It's certainly not a must-see film in IMAX. Overall, enjoyed the themes. The biggest thing is like, kind of just the cool, like, open-endedness of, like, where are these Sasquatches in time and space? How are they necessarily interacting with the human society? They kind of do a good job at dancing around. They do a really good job at dancing around it, where you don't really know how aware they are of humans. They seem quite surprised by a lot of human things, but at the same time, they're also like, as you can see in this scene, but at the same time, they're also like quite adverse to them as well. Almost seem like, they're, just sort of ready to react. Uh, and then the other thing is like, that overarching sense of like, are there other Sasquatches in this world? Again, we'll kind of keep that open ended. But through the beginning and middle of the movie, there's like a very nice, like open ended and good mysterious sense of like, like, are there other Sasquatches that they're trying to communicate with? Because they're banging these sticks together, they're yelling out, they're not getting a response, and you're like, oh, where are they? What's going on? So makes you wonder. I mean, really makes you wonder. Overall, I would say again, one blunt out of three blunts, and the worst could be three blunt guts. So, that's yeah, if it's a 7-point system, that would be a 5 out of 7, which is pretty good in my opinion, which is pretty good. So if you made it this long, as always, I thank you for watching. We appreciate you stopping by. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. As always, I doubt you made it this far though. That would be insane. And until the next time, we'll see ya. But I'm going to get working on writing up a Sasquatch Sunset review so that the rest of the world can know about this beautiful movie. And we'll take one more shot while we play ourselves out here. And I'm going to mute up and say good night. Go see it.